Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So today I'm going to be tying for you guys kind of a generic mayfly, March Brownie style Catskill mayfly imitation. It's going to use a couple of unique materials, or at least one unique material. So I'm going to tie this on a TMC 100. This is going to be a size 14. We're going to go ahead and start my thread, which is a Magpie Materials 72 denier, nice flat thread, a couple eye lengths back, and like your normal Catskill style, you definitely want to give some room up there at the front to tie off. I'm going to go about halfway down the shank and then come back up about halfway, about there. I'm going to be using wood duck flank as the wing, and when you're looking for your wood duck flanks, you want something nice and broad like this, and has a lot of fibers that are pretty much even up there at the top. And you're going to want to pull down from the sides where it evens out all the extra fibers and the fluff. You definitely don't want one that's uneven or doesn't have even barring. And you wind up with something about like that's about even across the top. And you're going to want to find that center stem that goes all the way up. Once you find that center stem, you're going to want to nick it out. And then from there, what you'll do is you'll take this and you'll stroke them forward till they're even, pinch them up at the top, but make sure you try and pull that about as tight as you can, and you can fold that wing over if you want, kind of get those to lay next to each other. You just want to make sure they all remain the same as much as possible length. We're going to tie a wing in about as long as the entire hook. So now that I got my measurement, transfer that to the front of the fly. I'm going to build a narrow band of thread going rearward. And what you can do is if you want to measure that where it's at now, I'll show you a little trick. What you can do is you can take another hook and measure it. See, I'm a little short, so I need to pull that out, back that band of thread up, and go just a step longer. I'll build myself a little band of thread again. Then I'll take my reference hook and I'll measure it. That's looking like I want it. It's looking a little better like I want it. Then from there, you pull the tail, the remaining butts end up, and you cut them off at an angle. If I had my scissors right, that would have cut the way I wanted it. Then you're gonna go ahead and go down that ramp to where that bend just starts. Then from there, you're gonna want to grab your spade hackle. And this is, I mean, it's not really a unique material, but it's a different brand than I normally use. This is another material from Magpie. This is the Riseform Hackle. The reason why I'm using this for my tail is because I can actually get a spade hackle off of it. You're going to want to measure that about the length of the hook as well. Transfer that measurement. Let thread torque carry it to the top. That's a skosh long, so I'll back it off. I'm using my finger to make sure that those fibers stay on top. That looks good. And as I wrap up, I'm going to pull these butt ends up, and where that ramp begins, that's where I'm going to lay my scissors. I'm going to let go, and those butt ends will fall right where they need to be cut. And then I'll continue my thread wraps on up. And from here, another Magpie material. This is Javelina hair. This is natural. You can kind of see in the front where it's a little beat up. I'll just trim that out. And I'll kind of put it where that ramp wants to start heading down. So that helps me build a natural taper. You know what? Actually, before I do that, I'm getting a step ahead of myself. So as I came up after that tail, come back up to the front, I'll kick all these wood duck fibers back. I'll shorten my thread up so that I can really place my thread wraps right up against that wood duck. I went forward and back, and that should stand it darn near straight up. And from here, I'll jump my thread behind, do 2 wraps. Then I'll split my wing. And the reason why you want to do the wing first is if you mess your wing up, I guess I could have done it before the tail. I should have done it before the tail. If you mess your wing up, you can always back it out and redo it. But anyway, 1, 2, cross that way after I've got it split. Then 1, 2 the other way with your X wrap. And then make 1 complete turn around the shank. Then from there, I'm going to tilt my vise, tilt my fly, make 2 wraps around my side, the near side. 1, it'll go 1, 2, just to gather those fibers. If you have to, just grab it with your fingers. There's 1. There's 2. Come on, agree with me. 1 around the shank. You can kind of adjust it from there. Make 2 wraps, and then we'll come around the far side. So 1, 2. Just gather those gather those fibers. Then make 1 wrap around the shank. And now from there, you can kind of take a look. You go to the front, take a look, make sure those wings are set the way you want them. Nice 45, standing straight up at a 90. Then I can start bringing back my thread. Now I'll tie in my Javelina. Some people call it Peccary or whatnot, but Javelina just sounds cool. Now with this, you want to end with 1 turn of this material right at the base. If you wrap your thread wraps all the way to where your tail starts, whenever you do your first wrap, it'll want to mess with that tail set. We don't want to screw with our tails. So now that I've got that, I've got a nice even ramp. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this Peccary or Javelina. So there's that first wrap that laid down just right where I wanted it. And then I can move forward. And as you can see, this stuff does a pretty cool job of segmentation. And it adds a little different look to it as well with the changing colors as you wrap forward. This will probably be the last wrap. And 1 there. Keeping it nice and tight with my thread. 2, 3, 4. And we'll bend that hair back, straight down, where it kind of puts a little crease, and then nick it out. Now from here, what I'll end up doing is I'll throw a 2 or 3 turn whip finish on the fly, right over that butt end of Javelina. then I'll pull out my Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. You could use UV resin, but that will... Sorry about that, my camera died right when I got that whip finish done. So from here I'm going to pull out my Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. Now you could use UV resin, but I think it's just a little too heavy. I'm going to put this over that hair just to add some strength. This will soak in and dry out. I have to kind of touch right at the base of those wings, right where those two wraps are, and that will help keep those wings right where they're supposed to be. Then from there, what I end up doing is I end up taking that fly out, and you can use a styrofoam cup if you want, or set it to the side to dry. And I normally, make all of my bodies in one shot, and then come in and add the hackle at the end. So I'm grabbing one that I already have prepared, and I'll go ahead and start my thread right in front of those wings. I'll bring it back, put a little trim on it. Now I'm going to use the appropriate sized hackle from the same cape. I do like my whiting capes, don't get me wrong, but finding a good spade hackle on a whiting cape can be kind of difficult, so I'm giving these Riseforms a go. So far I've been pretty pleased. I'm going to go ahead and tie in that hackle, trying to stay off of that front part. And from here, now you can tell I've got a little space for my hackle to begin to wrap. I want it to go the right way, so I kind of use my finger to make it go that way. I'm going to use my hackle pliers for this. So I got one full wrap. I'm going to kind of kick my wings forward just a little bit so I don't wrap those down. There's two. I try to get three behind. I'll pull my wings back and make one wrap right in front of them. There's one. There's two. As I come up, that'll be where I tie off. Two wraps. Open my pliers up. Come in and nick that hackle off without trying to get all the other stuff with it. Then from there, I'll go ahead and whip finish. Oh, I'm just going to finish with it. I wanted to stay off of that eye a little more, but thread wasn't going to let me. Get a couple of whip finishes in. Take my thread out. And there you go. My wing's a little long on that one, but I'm not upset with it. I think it'll be fine. That Javelina, you can see that has been dried and looks good and gives a really good segmentation and just a different look to your normal mayflies. Give it a shot. Let me know how you do. You guys have a great one.